What if I told you that billionaires don't spend their days searching for business ideas? Sounds strange, right? Because that's exactly what most people do. They scroll through social media, watch YouTube videos, and hope that one day the perfect idea will magically appear. But billionaires play a completely different game. They don't chase ideas, they build systems that allow opportunities to come to them. And once you understand how that system works, you'll never look at business the same way again. Take a look at companies like Amazon, Tesla, Airbnb, or Netflix. From the outside, their ideas seem incredibly simple. An online bookstore, electric cars, renting out spare rooms, streaming movies. Today, those ideas feel obvious. But when they first appeared, most people thought they would fail. So, what allowed a handful of entrepreneurs to see opportunities that millions of others completely ignored? It wasn't luck, it wasn't intelligence alone, and it definitely wasn't some secret list of billion-dollar business ideas. Instead, they followed a repeatable process, one that anyone can learn. So in this video, we're going to break down exactly how billionaires discover new business ideas, why they almost never start with the idea itself, and the simple mindset that helps them spot opportunities years before everyone else. Let's get started. Section 1. They don't look for ideas, they look for problems. Here's the first thing that separates billionaires from almost everyone else. Most people ask, what's a good business to start? Billionaires ask a completely different question. What's a problem that millions of people are willing to pay to solve? That small shift changes everything. Because great businesses rarely begin with a brilliant idea. They begin with a frustrating problem. Think about Amazon. Jeff Bezos didn't create online shopping because it sounded exciting. He noticed that internet usage was growing at an incredible pace, yet buying products online was still slow, inconvenient, and limited. That gap became an opportunity. The same pattern appears again and again. Uber wasn't really about building a taxi company. It was about making transportation faster and easier. Airbnb wasn't about renting homes. It solved the problem of expensive hotels and gave homeowners a new way to earn money. The biggest fortunes in the world weren't built by asking, what can I sell? They were built by asking, what problem keeps getting bigger and who is willing to pay to make it disappear? And that's where the billionaire search for new ideas truly begins. Section 2. They study trends before everyone else. But solving problems is only part of the equation. The real advantage comes from noticing where the world is heading before everyone else does. Most people pay attention to what's popular today. Billionaires pay attention to what's becoming inevitable tomorrow. Think about it. Before artificial intelligence became a global conversation, investors and tech founders had already spent years funding AI research. Long before electric vehicles became common on city streets, entrepreneurs were betting that the future of transportation would eventually change. They weren't predicting the future with perfect accuracy. They were simply paying attention to signals that everyone else ignored. A new technology, a change in consumer behavior, a government policy, a shift in demographics. On their own, these signals don't look very exciting, but together, they reveal where the next wave of opportunity is forming. That's why billionaires spend so much time reading reports, talking to experts, and studying industries that most people never think about. Because by the time a trend becomes obvious to everyone, the biggest opportunities have usually disappeared. And that's the lesson. The best business ideas rarely come from following the crowd. They come from quietly noticing where the crowd is going, long before it gets there. Section 3. They read more than they post. Now, here's something that might surprise you. Most billionaires spend far more time consuming information than creating content. While millions of people are scrolling through endless social media feeds, they're reading annual reports, shareholder letters, industry research, scientific breakthroughs, and market data. Why? Because every piece of information is a clue. A new regulation could create an entire industry. A breakthrough in technology could make an old business obsolete. A small change in consumer behavior could turn into a billion-dollar market within a few years. Think about Warren Buffett. He's famous for spending hours every single day reading, not because reading automatically makes you rich, but because knowledge compounds, just like money. The more dots you collect, the easier it becomes to connect them. And that's exactly how many breakthrough ideas are born. Not from a single moment of inspiration, but from hundreds of small insights that suddenly fit together like pieces of a puzzle. The truth is, billionaires don't just learn more, they see patterns that other people never even notice. And once you can see those patterns, opportunities stop looking like luck. They start looking predictable. Section 4. They test small before they bet big. Here's another myth that Hollywood loves to tell, that billionaires risk everything on one bold idea. In reality, they usually do the exact opposite. They test, they measure, they adjust. Instead of spending millions to prove they're right, they spend as little as possible to find out if they're wrong. Think of every new idea as an experiment. Before expanding into new markets, launching a product, or building a massive company, they look for one simple thing: real feedback from real people. If customers don't care, they move on. If people are excited, they invest more. This approach keeps failures small and lessons valuable. It's one of the reasons successful entrepreneurs can fail multiple times without losing everything. They don't fall in love with their ideas, they fall in love with learning. Because every failed experiment removes one bad path and brings them one step closer to the right one. That's why the biggest companies in the world rarely begin as billion-dollar businesses. They start as small tests, improve through constant feedback, and grow only after the market proves they're worth it. For billionaires, the goal isn't to be right on the first try. It's to learn faster than everyone else. Section 5. They build systems that never stop generating ideas. By now, you've probably noticed a pattern. Billionaires don't rely on random moments of inspiration. They create environments where new ideas appear naturally. Every conversation, every book, every market report, and every customer complaint becomes another piece of a much larger puzzle. Over time, those pieces begin to connect. That's why many of the world's most successful entrepreneurs seem to spot opportunities before anyone else. They're not seeing a different world, they're simply paying closer attention to it. And perhaps that's the biggest lesson of all. The next billion-dollar idea probably isn't hidden in a secret notebook. It might be sitting inside a problem that people complain about every single day. The difference is that most people hear complaints. Billionaires hear opportunities. So the next time you notice something that's slow, expensive, frustrating, or outdated, don't ignore it. Ask yourself one simple question. If I could solve this for millions of people, would they pay for it? Because that's exactly where many billion-dollar businesses begin. And who knows? The opportunity you've been waiting for may not arrive as a brilliant idea. It may arrive disguised as an ordinary problem that everyone else chooses to overlook. Sometimes the biggest fortunes don't come from finding something new. They come from seeing something familiar in a completely different way. Outro. So, how do billionaires really find new business ideas? Not by waiting for inspiration, not by copying the latest trend, and definitely not by chasing every next big thing they see online. They study problems. They follow long-term trends. They read relentlessly. They test small. And most importantly, they train themselves to see opportunities where everyone else sees obstacles. That's a mindset anyone can develop. You don't need billions of dollars to start thinking like a billionaire. You just need to ask better questions than everyone else. Because in business, the biggest advantage isn't having all the answers. It's learning how to spot the right questions before anyone else does. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the billionaire mindset, make sure to subscribe for more videos on how the world's wealthiest people build businesses, invest capital, and stay ahead of the competition. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.